All right, episode 35. We're coming at you early today. Instead of being our normal time on Wednesday, we're coming in early on Monday. So, do you struggle with adding leverage to your business? Do you stress out over the thought of having to interview, hire, and train someone? Have you considered hiring a virtual assistant but don't know where to start? Then join us today as we have on Rob Nickell, the founder of Rocket Station of Virtual Assistants. Rob has perfected the way real estate agents should hire virtual assistants, and he will share with us his advice on how to correctly hire your first virtual assistant. And we're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
What's up?
What's up, buddy?
We're down a man today.
We are. That's okay. We got a guest. It gets crowded in here sometimes anyway.
We got to kick Matt out. Matt's out.
Yeah. I'm just like sick of your shit.
We're coming early today.
It feels like we were just here yesterday.
We were on Wednesday.
I know we weren't, but it feels like we were just here. But they can't get enough of us, guys.
Nope.
They're like, you got to come in early. We need more magic.
I heard it's because of the awesome billionaire ideas.
Yeah, I got to think of one still for today. So if you see me zone out at some point during this this episode, it's not that I'm purposely ignoring you. It's that I haven't thought of a billionaire idea yet, and I only have about 42 minutes at this point to do it. So, Derek, you might need some help today.
I still like the one that I suggested. So just go with that one. And
You want to go with that one?
yeah, it's like 30 seconds long.
I think I need to do a variation on it, but to keep me from getting kicked out of the studio.
Well,
It's copyrighted.
Yeah.
If you're watching this live today, let's tag some agents, share this out, because this is something that I struggle with, and I'm happy to have Rob Nickell in our studio today of Rocket Station, because I've struggled at hiring virtual assistants. I've never had one work out, right? And so Rob and I met. When did we meet? Last December.
Texas OU, right?
Texas
Ooh.
OU. Yep. I was with Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, and Glenn Sanford was in town.
Nice.
We had a great time.
Yep. And so, started talking there, and I'm like, all right, no, it doesn't work. I'm not gonna call you, right? Because I just don't think it works. And now I'm hearing people using virtual assistants at a high level. I know that one of our mutual friends who's a client of yours has a whole bunch of them, right?
His army, he calls them.
His army. Yeah. So tell us who you are. Give us your breakdown of who you are. What's your business? How did you get in this business?
Yeah, pretty simple. Rob Nickell, really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
First
man,
of all,
absolutely.
Fan of you guys, I can't tell you the level of insecurity I have between the voices and the hairline. It's like I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you guys. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
I've been in real estate for a while. I grew up working for a general contractor, so
Okay.
the idea of real estate was always appealing. I quit my W-2 job pretty quick after graduating college because I was just going to jump into real estate.
Yeah.
Flipping houses was what I was doing, and I being in Texas, non-disclosure state, needed MLS access, so hung my license with a local broker here.
Okay.
And I was kind of hitting a wall. I learned about wholesaling in 2011-ish, and I was doing some retail stuff on the side, friends and family stuff that I kind of pick up. I was a buyer's agent for a little bit, and I realized that was not for me. Yeah, no, it was not my thing. So, but the investing side was really doing. And then I'd hit a ceiling. I was a one-man band, and I answering the phone and prospecting and running comps and putting packages together and meeting with sellers and then trying to sell properties in my own disposition, transaction coordinator, and responding to title companies emails all day asking for the corporate docs I already sent to them earlier, that whole thing. So for me, that was 3 or 4 transactions a month. That's where I hit my ceiling.
Okay.
And so I went and visited my broker because he had a pretty good life. I mean, he's more lifestyle than he is like buy Ferraris and get super rich. Like he wanted to have a good life, but it was more about like showing up to his kids' games. He had 2,
of course.
He now has 3 kids. So it was more about like supporting the family and then having the life he wanted, and then, to grow from there was fine. But yeah, exactly. So he really edified that concept. And he was leveraging VAs from the Philippines to do everything within his brokerage, you know, prospecting and CMA, all the exact same stuff I was doing on the investing side and a little bit on the retail side, but he was doing it throughout the whole business. Because the concept he understood really well, and it really came through, was like, running business today is just different. It's totally different. And we have these really unique opportunities because of technology and what exists. Like, we've come a long ways since email, but email and cloud storage and every software being online. So when you hire somebody, whether they're internally or a virtual team member, the process is literally the exact same, whether you're adding access to software or getting them set up, or phone systems are usually voice over IP. I don't really know anybody using hardline phone systems at this point. So the process is literally the same. And so because of technology, it's really an amazing time to be able to be an entrepreneur, to be an agent, to be an investor, because you can leverage, you know, we're all really familiar with the concept of leveraging other people's money, right? Whether it's banks or hard money or private lending, like everybody's got that down. But this idea of leveraging other people's time to be either more productive, make more money, or get some of your time back, get some freedom, that's a lot harder, right? So I like to think real estate's really easy. Managing people, managing teams, you know, accountability and productivity, that's what's hard. And so we feel like we figured that out, and our mission's to help other people have the life, you know, the broker that I had, you know, his life. We're hoping to enhance people's lives through better business, and we use VAs to do that.
I love it. So how did Rocket Station specifically get started? So
I started doing it one-off back in the day and going through the process. And it was Elance and Odesk at the time that I was hiring from, and some of Fiverr. But really then Fiverr was very different than it is today. But those two platforms now, Upwork, I was just hiring off those two platforms. And, you know, I'd post a job ad and I'd get tons of resumes. And it would look good at first. It was just a terrible process. I'd have to filter resumes, try to verify information. You know, how do you even screen somebody that maybe halfway across the world? Like, what does that process look like? And background checks. Is this person a criminal? How do I pay them? Like, all those things. I had no idea. And then I'd get somebody that I'm really excited about, and then you got to train them. You got to get them up to speed. And I'd wake up in the morning just dreading going to the office, because now I got to tell somebody what to do all day. And how do I hold them accountable? And I just wanted them, I just wanted the outcome. I didn't want the process, you know? I wanted the results. So while I was like struggling doing it, I was pretending, I was telling people it was easier than it was. You know, I was like talking about it. Like, we all go to the meetups, we all go to all the events, and, you know, you guys are going out to Vegas here this week, and everybody's gonna be talking about their business like it's easy and they're crushing, and they've got all these little things going on in it, and like they're just done, and then they go back and it's actually really hard. It actually like sucks, and it's actually like, it's like really difficult to run a business, right? So that's what I was doing. I was like making it sound easier than it was, but I was looking for an easy button. I was looking for that solution, that done for you. And there were companies out there, service providers, who made it sound really good, who made some big promises, but didn't really deliver. And that's really where the idea came from. I was helping other people do it one-off almost 100 times in 2012, early 2013. And then 2013, we just made it business.
100%. So what the things that we use VAs for a ton of stuff as well, my team and I, and this is one of the things I think that there's the biggest differences between the structure of like our business and Nick's business, because Nick's never really implemented something like this at a high level, and he's sort of written off the VA model a little bit, whereas I definitely can see that, because we have some really, really, really high level operators on our team right now, but we had to go through a whole bunch to find that level of talent, right? I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about VAs, is people think one of two ways about them. People either think that they are an easy button, right? And that if they just hire a VA, like, all stuff will be taken care of, right? And they could just relax and sit back and book their next vacation and all that stuff. Or they write them off completely and they're like, I'll never use VAs. Like, nobody can run my business right.
Like Nick.
Exactly. 100% just like Nick, right? The reality is like that there's a middle ground, right? Like, VAs are such a tremendous part of our business. Tremendous. We wouldn't be able to do anything without them. At the same time, we have gone through more VAs than I can even remember, right? To find that talent.
We're screening 4,000 resumes a month and hiring less than 2%.
I bet.
But it's a multi-step process, as you're kind of describing, that most people skip the first couple steps. And just when I talked about the outcome, that's what you're talking about. Most people just want that outcome. They just want to hire, and then act like they're just pulling the lever or punching a button, right? And then all of a sudden it's like they're doing more transactions. We all wish that was the case. Unfortunately, like, not really exactly the case. But there is kind of a solution to that, right? Like, there's no easy button ever. But there's an easier way than just grinding through it yourself. And we always start with systems and processes. So that word systems, it's so obnoxious, but repeatable processes. So what software are you using? How do you log in? How do you actually use your CRM? And what buttons do you actually want to push? Most people, or most operators, even the bigger companies, Nick, you mentioned one of our mutual friends, one of the largest operators here that exists, but even they don't have everything documented. They don't have everything written down. People learn by just coming to the office and kind of sitting next to other people and learning how to do it, and just kind of following them around the office and screen sharing. And it's a very archaic way of doing things that we all still do, because creating structure is very painful, right? It's also hard, and most of us aren't good at it. We're good at closing deals. We're good at meeting with sellers. We're good at like the transactional stuff and like getting it done. That's why we all have good businesses. But like the back end stuff's hard, right? It's like really, today we were going through a bunch of system process stuff. I had to stop because I just got back from an event that I went to, and I was like, all right, guys, I'm like, podcasts are easy, because like this stuff, like hanging out, having a conversation, this is easy. But like, see, details, systems, processes, structure, that takes, that's work. So the first thing our team does is a one-on-one process with you. Nick, you talked about the discovery call. That's that one-on-one process to figure out, how do you work? How do you want your business structure? What's your communication style? Like, what team members do you currently have? It's about utilization. So building systems and processes, having really clear structure, that's the foundation. If you put that in place first, which is what our team does step one, it's never about, hey, I want this outcome, so let's just go hire somebody. That doesn't work. You have to like really, strategy precedes implementation, right? So let's build that strategy. Most people have no idea what that even really looks like. So if we start there, and our team has to drag that out of most people, but that discovery call you were talking about, Nick, that's what that process is just dragging that out. You start at a 30,000 foot overview and you start drilling down into the weeds. You build that structure. Now you've got a job description, right? Now you've got full utilization of your current staff, because you're looking at what they should be doing, highest and best use of their time, right? Like what can your current team members, what should they be doing all day? Let's get everything else off their plate. And then the second, now you've got that job description, let's go find the right person to fill that seat, right? Most people just want to start looking for people without the plan. Once you have the plan, finding the right person becomes easier. We use Culture Index. We think it's the most powerful profiling tool. But between that and our 8-week training program, if you're going to be an ISA, obviously that's a different profile. That's a different type of skill set than somebody who's going to be like an admin or transaction coordinator, doing accounting and bookkeeping. It's a different profile, right? You want somebody a little more slower, a little more methodical, someone who's not going to make mistakes, so detail-oriented. Someone on the phone, ISA, they get a little mustard on their shirt. It's okay, right? Like, we just need the outcome there. So, then the right person fitting that role, onboarding becomes easier. You've got the right person, the right seat, but creating clear expectations through the onboarding process, now you've got accountability, because you know what's supposed to be done all day. And that's where most people fail. They get excited about a team member, then they go to onboard, there's no systems, there's no processes, there's no scripts, and then they're like, well, why didn't they answer the phone? Why didn't they, this sucks, why isn't this working? Well, it's like, what are they even supposed to be doing? Why are they, So starting at the beginning, systems, processes, then getting the right person to fill that role, onboarding correctly, then accountability becomes a lot easier. You send a start of day, end of day report. You got a voice over IP phone system. They either answered it or didn't. You can log in and see that. It's super simple, right? CRM, they're either pushing leads through, they're either following up or they're not. Management becomes easy once the job description is set. And so we just believe it's that 3-step process to get to the outcome. So while there's no easy button, while we guide people through that process, the outcome becomes a whole lot easier than just banging through it yourself and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a huge mistake a lot of times that people make, is that, there's 2 points to make on this. One is that a VA is not going to solve the problem of your lack of structure and systems. Those have to be created up front, right? Now, once you find talent, like, I mean, our VAs have learned over time. I've had VAs that have been with us for years that have gotten on a Facebook, meeting call with me, and they're like, hey, Brian, like this whole fucking thing is broken. Like, I'm fixing it. Like, your system's stupid. And they've become very creative over time. But that's because we had a lot of rigid structure in place. That has never been easier to create, though, is the other thing, right? Because we used to have to document so many things, and we still do, right? But, like, we used to have to go through a really agonizing, painstaking sort of process of documentation and rolling out all sorts of structure and stuff whenever we were training our VAs. The reality is, nowadays, like, our VAs, the training they go through is a Dropbox folder that says VA training that is now structured and ordered, but all it is just me screen sharing just us walking through our systems that I've put together over time, right?
That's awesome.
Every time I've created something new, whether it's like running, so I'll just give you an example. Like, we've revised a little bit of how we're running our Facebook ads for our listings now. As soon as we made that revision, I went in and shot a new video on the changes, replaced the old video. Now anybody that comes on, they just watch that video on how we do things. Like, but
you should just have your VA change it, right? Whoever's responsible for that task, they should just keep the Dropbox folder clean, and then you don't have to do it. Then you get a little bit of your time back.
I need to leverage that off too, exactly, right? So, like, but that's the thing is, like, the documentation process of your systems has never been easier. Like, if your business has a structure, there's really no easier way to document it than just through, like, video cataloging, I think, now. And so that's step one, and that's super easy nowadays.
Yeah, so the first thing most people come with, they're like, they want marketing help. It's all front end, like revenue generating thing. They're like, deals. It's like, okay, great. So we're more than happy to have that conversation. It's a great conversation, right? But usually people do better by just going backwards a little bit and working on their systems and processes and executing on what's already there at a higher level, being more efficient with what they already have, leveraging what they've got going right now.
Yep.
Much better ROI usually than just throwing a whole bunch more money at marketing.
Oh, yeah.
It's great, but like if you can capitalize on the opportunity, it's much more important than just creating more opportunity.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So what would be that next to the systems, what is the biggest problems that at least in our industry real estate agents have? Because again, we have good systems, but we're in person to train them, right? And so it's like you said, hey, come buddy up next to me. And the online portion of it is a little hodgepodge-ish.
Yeah, so the step one is doing exactly what Brian's talking about, either doing that yourself or leveraging their service providers like that, so they'll do that for you at very low cost, right? So if you're a one-man band and you don't have the resources to pay someone like us to do it, I mean, like Brian's talking about, it's very easy to do it. There's so many resources out there from Gliffy and other things like screen share. Your Mac has with QuickTime, you can auto screen share, and PC has the same thing built in. I don't know what it's called. So creating that's really easy, Nick. And our team is happy to help do things like that as well, right? So, but that is definitely the first step is just screen sharing, creating some recordings, walking through, because you'll make a lot of assumptions when you try to just write it down. You'll forget, oh yeah, and then you do this. Oh yeah, I forgot to say you did this. So that's why the video walkthrough is so much better. But I like to have the person responsible for that process to be responsible for the training. So in our process, we create that first step for you. But then going forward, that's your VA keeping that. It's a living training
once
folder.
Once
they've got the process. So then you bring on new team members. They're responsible for training the new team members, not you having to go back and do it all over again. It's similar type of training. We all do better when we have in-person led training, but if the majority of it's done online, then you have a person assisting you through that onboarding. The speed of implementation is just so much faster. It sounds like that's exactly what you guys are doing.
100%. That's exactly what we're doing. It's gotten easier over time. What is it but again, the talent is always going to be the issue, right? And it sounds like you guys have a pretty rigorous process. What is it that you think, if I was going to look for a VI on my own, I was going to do the stupid thing. I wasn't just going to go hire a rocket station, right? I was going to go look for a VA on my own. What is it that you think disqualifies 98% of them and puts it so that you're only hiring 2% out of 4,000?
So if you were going to hire people internally, if they weren't a VA, what would, in your mind, what would be your guess would disqualify 98% of them?
I think, and for me, I think, let's just say it's the exact same type of job. I think that there's a couple of key personality characteristics that I look for, because I don't think that anything that we do in our business requires a whole lot of talent. It takes the right mindset, right? So when I'm looking to hire somebody internally, all I want to know is how badly they care about growth opportunities and how much they care about money. If I can figure out what your attachment is to those two things, I can figure out whether you're a correct fit. Because because if you care about growth opportunities, there's always going to be more money for you to be made. So if you care a lot about how much you're being paid, but you don't care about becoming better and better and advancing, become a bigger, more integral part of our company, then you're probably not a right fit. So I'm looking for people that come in and they want to know what they need to do to grow within our organization right out of the gate.
Yeah, so I think most jobs in real estate, being a transactional business, because like the entire process, when you look at the machine, there's like, a few steps at the beginning, from marketing and generating leads and prospecting and actually closing those leads, and then the transaction and disposition part. No matter what you're doing, you're going through those same process, and then you do it all over again, and then you do it all over again, and you do it all over again. That's why systems are so important, right? You say you've got great systems, obviously, or your team wouldn't be as good as they are, right, Nick? That's why you've got a great team, because your systems are really strong, right? And then you're talking about talent on top of that. But I actually believe that most of the job roles internally aren't, besides the revenue generating activities around like prospecting and sales and inside sales, most of those aren't money motivated type jobs, like transaction coordination and dispositions and all of the admin and CMAs and bookkeeping, accounting. That's all about stability. That's all. You want career oriented people. You want people motivated by culture, by opportunity to grow within the organization, that are motivated by that team environment, because money for the right person in those seats, money's only going to go so far. And then you've got to be able to offer more than money, or they're just going to always be looking for the next opportunity to make more money. And that's not really what you want as an accountant. When I say accounting, it's bookkeeping, right? We don't really we're not CPAs. But all of the jobs that are repetitive, running comps, for example, putting CMAs. We have a company of doing 1,200 comps a week. CMAs, putting them together with our VAs, right?
Jeez.
That's mostly a science with a little bit of art. Mm-hmm. You don't want those people incentivized with money. You don't want to have to always be. You want them incentivized on outcomes and being part of a cool team and getting through that and high-fiving at the end of the week and hitting their goals, and maybe some small incentives throughout the week. So to your point, I think you were saying, getting the right person in the right seat. We absolutely believe in that process, but that's why we use Culture Index, because where you are is super different. Like an inside salesperson, you need them motivated. You need high empathy where they can, engage in that conversation. When you're prospecting, the details rarely matter. It's the story, right? It's what they really want. How many people really know what they want when you call you? Right? So that conversation's super important. So we believe there's a profile for that. We believe that's a specific role. And so part of why we're only 2% is there's really only a couple of profiles that really fit. It's what you're talking about, those people that need to be hungry. You're talking about our relentless team members. They're on different comp plans, those VAs are, than like the admins and the HR teams and the people that are responsible for the more repetitive tasks. Very different role, very different incentive plan. So it's all about the right person, right seat. But we also believe that experience goes a long way as well, right? Our industry is called BPO, business process outsourcing. That's what virtual assistants are, right? So we want people that have a little bit of experience, that have some tolerance to be able to do the job well. So we're not only looking for the right person, we're looking for the right fit that comes with some experience. We're looking for, we're not just hiring anybody. We want the right person. And so through getting, profiling like Culture Index and then going through 8 weeks of training, real estate specific training, you figure that out. You figure out pretty, if you take a couple thousand calls, whether you can be an inside sales rep or not. It's like this person can do it or they can't,
How you talk about the culture, so you can't go and virtually high five them, right? Like I can't just, I'm not
you can. Everything's over video right now, right? Like everybody that's watching this live right now.
But there's a difference between an in-person versus the virtual, right? And so with that, if you're the lone man, so Brian, we sent him off and he's just only interacting with us through video. Actually, he may enjoys that, but if he needed that social interaction, right, being part of that camaraderie, that team environment, how are you training your agents that are your clients to show, to build that morale and that culture around them when that person's not physically there?
Oh, absolutely. So I think this is very parallel to the conversation we were just having about motivation. Most people need to be integrated in the team. Even if they're not, their profile, they don't need to be social or whatever, they still need to be a part of a team and, know when they're doing well and when they're not. Some people just need to be praised publicly, and other people need to be one-on-one, right? But even if it's just you and one other person, which is, a ton of our agent partners are exactly that way, we want that person to feel like they're part of the team. They're working with you because they're engaged with you, and we believe that's really the only way to get great outcomes. There's a lot of good call centers out there. There's a lot of good project-based virtual assistant companies that do some really good things. But it's pretty empirical. Most empirical studies show that having dedicated team members really give you by far the most ROI. There's by far the most value in somebody who's incentivized to drive your outcomes in your business every day, rather than just, their own stuff. So a call center taking in prospects, there's no motivation there for them to really drive that outcome for your business. It's just about, doing just good enough to keep their job for the call center. It has nothing to do with you. That makes sense. So by having a dedicated person there that you've incentivized to be part of your team, incentives go way outside of money.
Yeah.
So engaging them with meetings, having them be a part, sharing your vision with them, why they're joining your team, all the exact same things you would do with a local hire, somebody that's going to be in the office. You want to go through that part. You want to share the vision. Why are they a part of your company? Why do you think they're going to add value? Why are they there? What's your vision for them and the company, and why? It's the same thing, right? It's that onboarding process. And then accountability. We all need to know when we're succeeding, right? We all need to know what success looks like. So for us in our organization, we have weekly team meetings where we hold everybody accountable. You guys are familiar with EOS. Most of our clients use some sort of EOS implementation or something similar to that. So ingrained.
For people who don't know what that is, explain that.
EOS is just it's a structure. Gino Wickman wrote Traction. Created EOS, which is an entrepreneur operating system. It's just a way to hold meetings, get a rhythm. It's really a way to run your business day to day, create KPIs, which are just your metrics, your indicators on what's working, what's not in your business. And it's just structure for most of us, that entrepreneurs who didn't get an MBA, that didn't go to upper level grad schools or didn't go work W-2 jobs for as long as maybe some of us should have, to get that structure that corporations can really provide. That's what EOS is for. It's like that corporate structure for the entrepreneur. And so every part of your business, we believe your team members should be integrated the same way you would have. So you celebrate your wins, you correct with the losses. That's usually more room to improve when things aren't quite going right than there are. So if you got the right person in the right place, they're going to want the feedback. They're going to want to know when they're doing well, when they're not. So video call, Skype, Google, Facebook Workplace, which I know you guys are familiar with, all of that's free to video chat. We use Slack for communication throughout the day as a company, but then Skype for video because it's free and easy and somehow, some way, just super clear all the time.
I know.
We use RingCentral a lot for meetings and integrated with Zoom. And so it's just between those resources, face-to-face, it's nearly daily. Of course, it's better, Nick, when you see. I go to the Philippines as many times as I can. This year only be 3 times, but usually more than that.
Wow.
Because what you're saying, it's always better to have some face-to-face. But you can incentivize people, and the best way to incentivize people is just by showing them you care, sharing the vision, and then giving them consistent feedback, holding them accountable, and providing resources where it's needed.
I think that's huge.
So walk me through, and you said you go to the Philippines. So when we were first talking, and full disclosure, I've gone through. I'm looking at virtual assistants here for my team personally, and I was talking to Rob, and I was talking to another company, right? And they source theirs out, their VAs out of Mexico, and most of them are out of the Philippines. What's the difference, and what's the pros and cons?
Yeah, so differences would mostly be around location, right? Mexico's same time zone. It's a pretty, couple-hour flight from here, from Dallas. So anywhere in the U.S., it's pretty quick. Philippines is literally across the world. So you've got same time zone shift, and so your labor structure as far as hours and when are they working is the exact same on time. So that's obviously going to make things a little easier. Philippines is 13 hours for most of the time. So depending on daylight savings and where we are with that. So 12, 13 hours ahead of Central Time. So obviously but our teams are working the same. So that would be the biggest difference is location. And then obviously you're going to have a Latin accent versus a Philippine accent to some variation, right? The Philippines learns British English, and in Mexico, I don't know exactly too much about the culture, so I'm not going to speak that much on it. So I don't know too many of the differences. I do know they both work. They're both great. Again, it's just about getting the right person in the right seat. So location, I think, is what's been proven to not really matter. I think there's some accent preferences with Mexico and Philippines over some other places in the world, which is why you see so many
from those two places.
Right. Yeah. So the Philippines is taking such a huge percentage of other countries' customer service and customer support jobs because it's easier now than ever because the technology that we talked about to be able to leverage those resources. So I think they're both great options for people looking for those. I think if somebody's helping you get the right person to fill that role, you've got equal training. I don't think it matters where they're coming from. I think it's about competency. I think it's about having the right person, but people are people.
Yeah, 100%. What are just as far as what I really like to talk about is limiting beliefs, I think, around BAs. I know that's Nick has limiting beliefs.
Yeah, let's address all of them. I'm sure most people watching do too.
Yeah,
right?
And that's one of the biggest things, right? Is that I think people get a little egotistical about their businesses sometimes. Like they're so special and their business is so unique. Nobody could ever come in and help them run it as efficiently as they could, which is, I'm sure there were times when I was like that. I now have a personal goal, and everybody that I talked with about my business knows this. My goal is to forget how to do everything in my business. I want to leverage out everything so much that I've just forgotten how to do it, so that people won't ask me things anymore. But I had to get over that pill and swallow that pill a long time ago. That I am not the best person to be doing a lot of things in my business, right? I'm just not detail oriented enough. I'm great at building systems. I'm terrible at running the systems that I build because of the monotony and the day in and day out of it. And I like to be creative. I always want to be building something new. And so leveraging things out is the only way that I can actually get them to work properly is by leveraging them out. What limiting the beliefs do you think about, or do you think people notoriously have incorrect around, I think, the capacity of what specifically VAs can do for you in your business, and how far reaching that talent can go?
Yeah, let's address some of the first one. Most common, I guess, would be language barrier, right? So English proficiency and English competency and so Nick, you've talked with some of our team. I guess you should address that. People don't care what I have to say about it. Nobody cares about your kids.
Yeah, no issues. I mean, I had full on conversation. Maybe they had problems with the way they couldn't understand me. But that's just how I speak, right? So that has nothing to do on them.
I think it's a non-issue. We've never really run into that.
No, it's never been an issue on that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so again, that's part of why we're only hiring 2% of applicants. Yep. It's a huge part of the day-to-day. Even if someone's not going to be communicating on the phone or be client-facing, we all want to feel good and feel comfortable in the communication and make sure we're getting through with our teams. And so English proficiency is a huge piece of it, but I think you've both testified to the fact that if you're getting the right person, again, English proficiency is a non-issue. Yeah. In the Philippines, one of the major advantages why we're there in a lot of ways is English is a national language there. They have 2 national languages. English is one of them. They grow up learning English, so having natural English proficiency is normal in the Philippines, which is a huge reason why we're there. So language barrier would be number 1. And again, some of the top operators that are using teams out of the Philippines to do all their front-end prospecting, do everything that's client-facing. Yeah. That's awesome. And that's why they're able to do so much volume, right? Huge. Is they're again, we're doing 300,000-400,000 dials for some of our client partners, and they're all done out of the Philippines a month.
That's huge.
So that you want to talk transacting. So they're limiting beliefs, you let these people go. We'll go head to head with almost any U.S.-based teams and feel really good about it. So English proficiency is a non-issue. It's just about having the right person. English is going to be there. Second thing is about education and competency. I think would be most people's fear about what they're getting because price is significantly lower. if you look at I travel a lot, do a lot of events, same way you guys do, and we poll every single time and ask people what the price per hour is for if you got a local person come into the office to do all the tasks we're talking about.
Yeah.
Inside sales, executive assistant, all the day-to-day stuff. It's somewhere around $15 an hour, $18 an hour would be that cost. So VAs are always, even through a service provider, usually significantly less expensive than hiring somebody internally, right? So, but what you look at what you get, you tell me, with 10 to 15 bucks, 18 bucks an hour, the US-based person.
I mean, depends, but at $10 an hour, I can tell you it's not the greatest quality.
So what kind of education level would you get it?
High school at best.
Okay. All right, 15.
Probably, yeah.
15 probably high school, maybe some college.
Okay, what would it take to get college educated?
At least, 20, 25?
Probably,
Yeah. So we're looking at 40 grand a year.
Okay, yeah. So our teams are $10 an hour and everybody has a college degree.
Yeah.
So it's just about opportunity over there. We provide an opportunity that's better than they can usually get in their local market. We're also hiring from some of the bigger companies. JP Morgan has a huge company over there. Sprint has a huge structure over there. There's very big companies doing what we do, thousands and thousands and thousands, 10, 15, 20,000 employees, and that's part of where we snag our team members from. So education and competency is usually the second issue, and for $10 an hour you can get a college grad that's learned real estate. That's why then the third thing is where can they go, right? What level? That's where you were getting to, Brian. And so anything that you're willing to spend time with us to map out those processes done on a phone or computer, it can be done. So that's why that discovery call is so important, because we usually don't know where we could leverage the team members. We're usually not really aware because we're just kind of getting through our day and we're bringing people in to just help us and get it done, and we get through. But if we stop and thought about what you did, if I asked you, hey, what'd you do today? I bet neither one of you could really tell me what you did all day. You just know you crushed your day. And that's most people. So the first thing is just slowing down a little bit, figure out how to utilize your current team members. If you're a one-man band, it's like, all right, what should we delegate and outsource first? Most of the business, over 80% of the day-to-day business, is done on a phone or computer.
Yeah.
And with the technology today, that means 80% of your business or more could, and in my opinion should, be done through VAs.
So with that though, all right, and I'm starting to process this a lot more, right? Because again, I've gone through, other than I missed the discovery call, which was I think last week, and then they put me in a chase, right? I've been called every day, so it works. Like I didn't purposely test this out. I just forgot about the discovery call, and it is painful, right? It's a 30, but they set me up for 30 minutes, I think it is. Right, it's a 30-minute call. And
that's hilarious for you and me. That's painful for the team that's going to be on that call. It's like, it's what they do. They love it.
Exactly.
They eat that 30. It just goes by so fast because they love it. For you, you're like, you're missing it because you're dreading it. Right?
Exactly. So, all right. So
that's why you need the call, by the way.
I'm working through this right now. So, with that, let's say that, all right, we're processing, right? We do the discovery call. We go ahead and start the onboarding process. We start recording these videos. Where does it go wrong from there, right? Because
participation.
Is it okay?
As long as you stay connected with us and communicate openly, there will not be an issue.
And do you see yourself as the operator on that side? Do you have procedures in place to help keep the client, which is us, hiring those VAs, or there are ways to keep us more participated in that? Are you kind of like the guidance coach in that?
Yeah, well, that's why they're scheduling all that with you. If you'll show up, they won't have to be so relentless and stay after you, right? But yeah, they're going to pull all that out of you.
Yeah.
If we were dependent upon you being able to give us what we needed, or you being a good manager from that standpoint, we wouldn't have a very successful company, right? So that's why that front end process exists. That's why the discovery call's there.
So then they see that I'm a poor schedule of time.
You and everyone else, right?
And
that's why you're good at your business, because there's that piece of it you go crush every single day.
That's the reason why I like it in people in office. That's my limiting belief. I'm like, all right, at least I can have a correction talk, or I can praise right then and there when
it's just tangible. But what you're gonna love Just imagine how good it's going to feel when there's enough systems and processes where you don't have to feel anxiety about it. You're just going to have resources to be able to see what you need to see, feel good about it. It's just going to become about the output. So imagine what it's going to feel like to get rid of that anxiety that you're feeling and not have to have it in front of you.
Right. So all right, we hire our first VA. You know, we structure it out. We're 90 days in. So from that 90-day on point, is there more guidance from you guys?
We stay with you for the life of the account.
Gotcha.
So ideally, there's no issues. We don't think there will be, but they're people. Things happen. Part of the great thing about using service providers like us is going through this alignment phase with us at the beginning. If there are issues, turnover becomes a whole lot easier. We're totally aligned with you. We've got systems and processes. We know who the right person is. We have huge amounts of resources of dedicated staff already ready to go. So turnover becomes a lot easier if there is issues. But ideally, 90 days, you're far enough along where, they are just cranking. It's all just about ROI. It's about output at that point in time because it takes way less than 90 days to really get rolling.
I like it.
I love it, man. I knew that like our business is already highly leveraged, but I think that the technology is there.
Guys, think about how do the biggest operators become the biggest? Like,
you're right,
man.
Everybody
thinks like they go to classes, everybody goes to all these events, and they think there's this like secret sauce. Everybody thinks there's like this secret out there that they're going to go get. You're going to Vegas. Everybody's going to Vegas to get this secret. The secret is leverage. The secret is just getting more done, doing more transactions. You only do more transactions by either doing more volume or making more money per deal, right?
Yep.
You got to find some way to do it. All the big boys, they only become big boys by they're not hiring 300 people in their office.
Yeah.
They're not hiring 50 internal salespeople. They're hiring 50 virtual assistants to go after one market to dial 300,000 times a month to crush the smaller guys. They're not doing it with big teams.
Yep.
So if the big boys can do it, if the biggest operators you've heard of are using us and people like us, then why couldn't they do it for you?
Yeah, you're damn right. I love it. If you've had limiting beliefs around hiring a VA, I hope this helps your mindset because as technology still becomes part of a bigger and bigger role in transactional business, you're going to need that type of leverage.
I'm going to say this right here this was a therapy session anyway, just disguised as a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
This was designed to work me through that, get over my limiting belief.
Well, I'm really excited about it. You're gonna get a lot of value out of it.
But with that, let's talk about pay, right? So you said everyone's like $10 an hour, right?
Yeah, for us,
$10 an hour. How does that work, right? So
so let's talk real quick about employment, right?
Yeah.
So most people have heard of W-2 or 1099. That's where most people sit, and everybody's pretty familiar with the difference. And if not, just Google it. It's really simple. I don't think we have enough time to really go down that road. But what happens a lot is people hire 1099 because they think that's the safer road. There's less liability. It's also easier because there's no taxes. It's also a ton cheaper, right? You're not having to do all the taxes and withholding, Social Security, and all the things, right? So it's like W-2 is really scary. But the deal is like 1099, there's also a ton of liability because if you do it correctly, if you're doing a 1099 the right way, you can't really control that person. You can't really control their time and their effort.
Stop showing up.
Right, and so it's like becoming more of a thing. The IRS is focusing more on that. And so that's why we've created a third option just as a service provider. It's just a service agreement. It's just a contract. So for us, the $10 an hour is just through the service agreement. You're agreeing to either a part-time or full-time person. So you're hiring, we talked about dedicated staff. We're dedicated staff. So the 11th and 20th of every month, you get a statement itemized with the number of hours your team member worked, and you only pay for worked hours, right? So then your credit card is charged on whatever the 13th or the 28th, 48 hours after your statement, right? And it's just a service agreement, so it's a direct write-off. Ideally, your team member's crushing it, and you create some incentive for them because if they're doing inside sales or whatever they're doing, but they get 100% of that. So as part of our team, they're getting insurance, they're getting all the things all the benefits that you want, right? We're providing that to the team members, but that's our Philippine company, which services our US-based company, which has an agreement with you. So you're working with our US-based company. That's why it's just a service agreement. The same way you check the box on anything else you buy, you're just checking the box and agreeing to pay for the hours worked from your dedicated team member, and then it's not even an independent contractor.
Dude,
easy enough.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
rocketstation.com. I would discovery call for people that are serious. Everybody wants me to like give stuff away on podcasts and stuff. The best resource I can truly have, either jump on the website because there's lots of great information there. But those that are serious about like just exploring it, whether you hire our team members or not, we're in a great place that, we don't, to chase you is great, but we don't have to have you, right, Nick? But the best thing I can do is Brooks, Brooks, at rocketstation.com. That's Greg and his team. They'd be happy to spend 30, 45 minutes talking VAs, talking processes, helping people identify where they could lever VAs.
Yep.
And there's would be nothing more valuable. These are workforce management experts. They could do time studies on your business. They know exactly what they're doing. There's not an issue you or anyone else are facing that they haven't faced before. So I would highly recommend emailing Greg and his team at rocketstation.com.
And can they, before we get into the billionaire idea, the face is not looking good over there. What roles can they do? Like, can we, like, if you're looking for a content marketer, I mean, can we train this for all roles?
Yeah, so, I mean, content marketing is kind of specific, so it depends on what they would be doing. Social media management, definitely posting. Content writing is a specific role, so we would just source that. That's a little bit outside of the traditional roles, but it's totally doable. The traditional roles are like inside sales, the putting comps and the CMAs together with some other general admin. Usually those are together. Executive assistants, which sounds like this pompous thing. It's really way bigger than that. It's calendar management. It's follow-up. It's all the things that you're getting that I have no time to do myself, but I'm determined you're going to be a part of what we got going on, and so that's done through our EAs, right, and that team. So having assistants do all the back end, transaction coordination, most of disposition. I mean, they can't unlock a house, but they can fill out all the MLS listings. They can do all the stuff. You just get on there, check the boxes, verify all the things. I mean, what can they not do, man?
Love it.
Rocketstation.com. Check it out. Right after you check out touracademy.com, get your first month free. We did say that today.
Oh.
We were really bad about all that today. Like, share, subscribe, send out our podcast.
It's Monday, though. Like,
it's
again,
Monday, man.
This is how routine I am when you throw me off on just getting in here early.
We'll do a watch party for this. We had a lot of people watching, and this was a great episode as far as content goes.
I freaking love it.
So we're going to blast this out a ton.
You guys were awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
The best is coming, though. You got to wait for this part.
Yeah, I can't wait for the we'll have to do a follow-up once you're rocking and rolling, and you can give everybody the honest feedback about how it's going.
I will definitely let you know, and I'll do an update. And I know Rob is in our Facebook group, the only Facebook group worth being a part of.
In there as well. Derek, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going to need your help with this. I don't know if this is even a billionaire idea.
Is it just an idea today?
Just an idea. I mean, I don't think I need money to do it.
Brian's Monday idea.
Yeah. I think my influence will help me, but I don't need money because all I'm going to do is just want to start stealing animals from the zoo, and then I'm going to deny it. I'm just going to take like a couple lions from the zoo, and then I might leave some clues so it tracks them. Like, you're not going to need clues because I'm going to have this huge estate with all this acreage, and I'm assuming when the lions go missing, they're going to do some sort of search, maybe an aerial search, and they're going to see a couple of lions just roaming around my backyard, and they're going to be coming to my house. They're going to be like, do you take the lions from the zoo? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And they're like, sir, we can see the lions through the doorway. And I'm like, those lions are rescues. Don't you dare.
You went down to Operation Kindness, picked them up.
Those lions were abandoned on the side of 35. And if it wasn't for me, they'd be dead now. But I rescued them, and then I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna my collection's gonna continue to grow. I'm gonna steal like a whole bunch of zebras, like all kinds of stuff. I'm just gonna be such a powerful person. There's not gonna be a damn thing you can do about it. I'm gonna take care of them. I'm not gonna like treat them bad or anything. But I just think there's something funny about the idea of me being such an eccentric and cheap billionaire that I probably could buy all these exotic animals, but I'm choosing to steal them from the zoo because I think it's funny.
You wouldn't even just buy the zoo. You would just take them.
I would
take them for your own
hire
personal
a team of former Navy SEALs that are just bullshitting around, all retired now, and I'd pay them an exorbitant amount of money to go steal a bunch of rhinoceroses under the cover of night and bring them back to my house just so the authorities would show up and I could deny it.
And hire a bunch of VAs to watch the security cameras to notify everybody what's going on.
I'd be like, sir, I've had these rhinoceroses for years. I raised them from birth. Don't you dare accuse me of stealing them last night from the Fort Worth Zoo.
This is going to happen for every animal.
I'm sorry your rhinoceroses are missing, but you can't have mine.
What are you gonna do when they reference this show as proof that you've got all their animals?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is going to be tracked back to this podcast, and I'm going to be going to jail for a long time because I've blatantly admitted everything I'm going to do on this show.
You have the money, though, man. You have the influence.
That's part of it. That's why it's billionaire ideas.
But they won't be able to find it because you had the SEO. Yeah. And every picture shows up of you in other countries. So
that's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, episode 1 through whatever this started.
Derek, take us out.